two people who are savvy and they're like, listen, this could help
Exactly.
us. We are a rock. Let's play this game that they're playing with us. Let's beat the game. Like that would be the ideal relationship, right? It's like,
Totally.
okay, we are a unit. We're gonna go do have this opportunity. We're gonna make great television, but at the end of the day, we're gonna come back home to this unit.
Yep.
And the unit is always more important than the game. And so I think for people who, especially people doing these like relationship shows, you have to make sure that your relationship is stronger than the game. And you always
Yes.
have to make sure that you're putting that first and foremost, because you can see with a lot of these shows, especially the ones that have gone multiple seasons, the characters start to realize, okay, I don't want to humiliate you in front of the whole world because it's also going to humiliate me. So we're not going to talk about this on camera. We're not going to talk about this on camera. We're not going to talk about this on camera. And that's cool for like a season. But once you see with Vanderpump and Tom Sandoval and Ariana, their relationship was fake, what everybody said, for years. You know, like once you see something like that happen, all of a sudden there's this thing and it looks really weird and awkward. And then it comes out, well, they didn't want to do, you know, like Katie and Hans didn't want to talk about the divorce on camera. They don't want to do this on camera. Like everybody started crafting their image and it was no longer real. And you see
Yes.
that in the end of Vanderpump where Lala's like, I have been myself this whole fucking time. I've been dragged for being myself and these bitches have not. And like, I
Yeah.
don't respect that. And it was kind of like, I chills thinking about it
I got
because,
goosebumps.
you know, I'm thinking about that because I really was raw. Like in many ways, like, you know, I really allowed myself to be very raw and very vulnerable. And I paid for it. But in the long run, my integrity, I think, is more
Yes.
important to me and the work that I do in the world than like saving face and caring about my image. And
That's exactly it. And that's the difference between you and so many other people is they're
yeah.
more worried about their personal brand. And, you know, I always say, I'm not a fucking brand. I'm a person. So you're going to get all the nuance of being a person and none of the nuance of being a brand. And I think, you know, you may have your brand, right? And I have my podcast brand and all of that stuff, but like, that's just a part of who we are. We're all nuanced. And the fact that you were able to do this and keep your integrity and do you look back on it and I'm not saying you can't look at things and I wish I behaved different, but do you look back on it and you feel like you've had your integrity the entire time?
I think I'm being honest if I said I had my integrity the entire time. I think there were times where I did or said something that didn't really feel good to me. Or, you know, I made choices
Were
for
those put in
I
your,
made
were those the
choices for
type of
the
work?
show rather than my relationship. I think
That's what I
a
was
lot
going
of
to
times
ask.
I put the show before my relationship because I was thinking about it for the both of us for the long haul, like what the show for me, like I could do this a number of different ways just because of the nature of who I am, but this was something that would really change Johan's life. Like this would give him a platform, like no one would ever see or hear from him if this he didn't have this opportunity. That's how I thought about it. And so a lot of times I would put our success on the show before our success as a couple. I think that um you know, that hurt us. There were a lot of things that hurt us, but you know, there are times where I feel like my integrity was sacrificed, but that's on me. You know, if
Yeah. Well,
one of
even
the things
admitting
that
that
I,
and recognizing that's a win, like that's
yeah,
growth.
and I think that it's important when we talk about these shows, like we are all individual humans who make choices. And any job that I've ever had, I've been working since I'm 14. Someone hands me a contract, I read that shit.
Me
And if
too.
I don't understand it, I hand it to someone else who does. And so if my contract is shitty, I have to find to own that because I'm a grown ass woman. I've lived in the world and I should have known better. That's kind of when I went from one contract to another and I thought I got a third when I was in the next season. They're like, no, it's the same show and it's within a year. Like it was how it
Yep.
worked. And I was like, that's on me.
Yeah. That's
That
how they get.
I was just like, that's on me. And, you know, because I have the resources to have someone else look at it and I didn't. But, you know,
But you also
you
don't know
learn.
what you don't know. And these contracts, like people are like, you signed up for it.
Yeah.
You should have read the contract. And it's like, hey, idiot. And I'm sorry, but idiot. I did read the contract. They're predatory. They're predatory. Like I had mine amended to accommodate for stuff I have to do for work. But like the expectation that you get a couple days, I don't know how long you get a couple days, maybe a week to review this stuff. And there's a million people waiting behind you, right? So there's the whole situation, the contract, the situations we're in, especially that first time where you literally have no idea what you're signing up for until you experience it, whether you read the contract, understand it or not. It's predatory. It's predatory more than the contract. It's the whole system at which they cast, and you're a dime a dozen. There's 1,000 people behind you waiting to go on 90 Day Fiance.
Yeah, tall spells. You know, like there's a million people to choose from. There really is. There's no shortage of crazy people who have crazy relationships. So there's always the next guy. So I think that, you know, that's why it's been so successful for so many years, because, you know, you have a constant market. And, you know, this idea that we're not allowed to talk about it. You know, you can't talk about your experience. You can't talk about the pay. You can't talk about how many hours it is, how long we're filming. Like really all of the magic that makes it a show, you really can't talk about, because that takes away of like the reality piece, and like takes away of the consumer experience, I guess is the way that
the parts of it that are a lie and manipulated are the parts that you can't say, because it's reality. It's like such a circle firing squad. But
the way that I address it is, I just always say, remember, we're watching television. Like, remember, this is a creative process where 7 couples have to have a storyline and a through line that makes sense for all of this. Like, just remember, anytime you're watching any other kind of television, it's the same. It's all just television. So even though I'm really Danielle, that's my real name, I'm really a teacher in real life, I really have a business, Johan is really my husband, all those things are real. There isn't a real setting where I have a 30-person crew with me in this restaurant while I'm trying to have a conversation about my fertility. That is a much, you know, we would not be having this conversation at the park. You know, like we would be at a place where we felt safer, where we're on cameras around us. So like, remember that what you're seeing, the frustration or the dysregulated emotions or all those things you're seeing, not just because of the conversation, but because of the circumstances that the conversation is happening in. And so humans need to like practice some common sense, I think, which is not common. You know, and kind of realize that you're seeing 15 minutes, you know, like let's ask the questions. What do you think might be missing? What else? If this was your house and we were having this conversation at dinner, what might be missing from this conversation? And the thing that I'm going to talk to my high school.
Start with the 15 crew members too, right?
Yeah.
And that's one thing I kind of say now a lot. And, you know, this whole thing for me has been such a process. Like I was so focused on my marriage and then my own, like, getting through the days, like literally day to day, getting through the days where, you know, I spent 7-8 months where I'm like, I can't even think about anything but the rest of today. And that was just my constant state. And now that I'm like starting to come out of it and I'm starting to feel, you know, empowered and more like myself and gain my confidence back and all of that kind of stuff. What I've really realized on reflection is this whole reality TV world, it doesn't matter the show. They're not just following you around like a documentary. And by the way, documentaries have their own issues.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But like every situation is manufactured. And I remember like, yeah, okay, I'm meeting Danielle's parents, or she's meeting my parents, or we're at this dinner, or we're with our friends, or we're in the pods and then in Mexico. Like these are controlled environments, manufactured situations and conversations. And you know, we of course had our things as well where we're like, okay, well, we're not going to talk about this on camera. We're not going to talk about this on camera. We're going to keep this private. We're going to, you know, there were things that we did like that, which a lot of people have to do. But what it comes down to is you're still sitting in this environment where there's cameras on you. There's sound guys. There's people telling you what to talk about. They're telling you to re-say something. They're telling you to reflect on something. And then another thing that I thought about that kind of like made my brain explode, the day after our wedding, we each had to go do like pickup interviews, the OTFs. I don't know what you call them. We call them on the fly. Yeah. And so we're doing these interviews reflecting on the past 7 weeks. And I'm like, I don't remember what I said in that situation. I don't remember what happened there. And then the producer tells you what happened. And you're like, I don't remember that happening. So they're like crafting these stories, like you said. So, you know, this is why I have a petition, which is moveon.org/reality, to just put a disclaimer at the beginning of all these shows saying these are for entertainment purposes only. They can be, I basically took the contract language. It said you can be misrepresented, you can be edited out of order, et cetera, and just remind people, because while you are watching real people, you are watching a show that has a story to tell. And I think people need to make that connection and then show empathy when somebody is there.